how's it going, guys? And welcome back to the CFCTALK podcast. Of course, another episode after another loss, 3-1 against Arsenal. This is very surprising, to be honest with you. Last time we sat here, we said Boxing Day was going to be fun. I was excited. Because we had so many cricket games going on and then football games, and I was like, yes, come on, we've got India and Chelsea playing at the same time. Can't. It's just gone all wrong. And tonight we're joined by an Arsenal fan. Even though the match didn't go as planned, we wanted to have him on so he could have a chance at going at all the Chelsea fans. Welcome to the podcast, Zogba.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to speaking to you about the match because I'm sure you guys have a lot of good things to say. I'm sure it's going to be all praise and good vibes for your players. They made me very happy today.
Alex, do we have anything good to say about the match?
Other than Hudson-Odoi, okay, we'll get into it in a little bit. Other than Hudson-Odoi's performance, nah. No, not really much to. But let's get into
Amart,
it.
anything good to say just to start it off?
Man, I don't know. I keep thinking about just two words all the time, two words, and I think I spoke with Zogba about it, and it's Charity FC. We are back, and we are back in full force. So I don't think I expected anything more from that. So so yeah, that's that.
I think you can see the disappointment in us three, and while Zogba is just the only happy man laughing at the back.
Hey, look, I'm. You'll have to excuse me. It's been a really rough December for me. This is the only time I smiled in like 7 weeks plus.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the second win in 10 games, something like that.
Yeah, and the last one was against United, wasn't it? We've taken.
Yeah. So it seems like you're winning against all the big teams, but losing against the others, and we're winning against the weaker teams and losing against the. All right, I shouldn't count.
That
Arsenal
was the
as a big
same
team.
thing Amart said, and it's like, okay, so Arsenal are a weaker team now. Cool.
Let's get into the match. Your detailed thoughts on that, Zogba, as an Arsenal fan. How was Arsenal's performance? We usually just look at the Chelsea side of things, and we usually don't discuss the opponents a lot. But how would you say the Arsenal players played? And of course, being such an important game, Arteta under pressure, even though I think the Arsenal board did back him up, and they're still going to back him up. So how important was this win for him?
So to put it simply, I think this was a really, really important game for him to win. But there's a number of issues I have with Mikel Arteta, and I could go on for days about that. But simply put, I think he overcomplicates things for himself. Like, you know how they have this thing with Pep where it's like, oh, just play the simple formation. It works. But then Pep wants to do something elaborate, and then he overthinks it. I think that's exactly Arteta's issue, because he should have been playing a 4-2-3-1 this whole time. It makes the most sense. It gets the best. He has the best players in the best positions. He's able to get the best out of his players whenever he plays a 4-2-3-1. But he's stubbornly sticking to this quasi 3-5-2 stroke 3-4-3 formation, and it hasn't worked. Like today, he just played a 4-2-3-1, and it was simple. And also, I think he does really well, like you were saying, against the bigger teams, because then you don't have to the onus isn't on you to create and or score, right? Like the onus is on you to counter. But whenever he has to take initiative, his teams definitely don't do very well at that. So yeah, I still don't want him in the job, but this was definitely a good win.
Yeah, I'm sure every time you say it was a good win, I'm like, oh, okay. Alex, your thoughts. Let's have a Chelsea opinion in this. And
Also, I've just remembered another positive, and it's that I probably had the closest prediction to the actual result than the three of us. I predicted a 2-2 draw. So, and you guys, I think, all predicted wins for Chelsea. So I'll take the little wins when I can. But yeah, it's too much. There's too much to say, and what I have to say, yeah, it's just a couple of players, particularly disaster classes in the first half. We keep wishing for Timo Werner to kind of break his goal drought and and he just doesn't. But I mean, at least Lampard didn't wait until the 80th minute to take him off. He did do some half times. I can hear you laugh. Yeah,
I
Werner's.
think
I
I
think
think he's gonna laugh at
yeah,
But
everything we
wait,
say tonight.
wasn't Werner like your big summer signing? Wasn't he the supposed to be the
yeah.
number 9 that turned the club around? And
Yeah, he's just on a bit of a drought, and he's being played technically a bit out of position, but we don't have a choice. So yeah, it's
I think it's a bit more than a bit of a drought. But
a
just
lot of a drought. Yeah, yeah. 10 games without a goal is it's not good. But we'll get into that later, I guess. But yeah, at least I can say my prediction was not a million miles away. And yeah, I guess Mason Mount was all right. I think in the midfield, Kante conceded a foul for the free kick goal and was not that great. Kovacic was not great. So I was glad that I thought Lampard made the right subs at least, taking some positives. But yeah, it's just that's all I have positive for this game. Let's get let's get into the negative now. Oh,
I think Amar, when the lineups were announced and going back before kickoff, it was a surprise to firstly see Chilwell and James start off, even though they had an impact into this game, but on the opposite end of things, not towards Chelsea. Um, how confident were Chelsea fans, and how confident were you yourself? Like, yes, this could be a win. I mean, we've got our wing backs who are back in the team. We've we won the last game 3-0 pretty convincingly, even though there were periods where we were struggling against West Ham. So what went wrong? How do we go from a lineup which looked so strong on paper to the result that we have tonight?
On the confidence side, yes, I was definitely confident. At the same time, I was a bit worried because it's always good. I think Joel and James in the style that Lampard is playing are very, very, very critical to the way we play. Without them in the side, we have a lot of issues because we somehow can't find a way to attack through the middle. We always have to come from the wings, and yeah, we do that because we have excellent wingers, but when those wingers aren't on form, I think the job falls mainly on James and Chilwell to do that kind of work. And on the other side, I wasn't confident also because I was a little worried because I never like seeing Werner on the wings. I've said it many times. I never like seeing Werner on the wings, and anytime Werner plays on the wings, I'm worried because even though he wasn't really a main striker for Leipzig, but he was playing in a front two, and in the front two he was always on the left, but he wasn't wide left. He was closer to goal than what he's doing for us. So being putting him wide left, he can't dribble. He's not a good dribbler. If you watch all his highlights and stuff like that, he dribbles at times, but when he's in the middle, he can do well. But I don't know that kind of natural winger play that probably we saw from Hudson-Odoi. He can't do that, and the same thing from Pulisic. He can't really do that, and I think it's lacking in confidence a bit. So the lineup wasn't too bad because that lineup on paper they should beat Arsenal because Arsenal's team wasn't really. I don't think they had their best team on show, and because their best team will be with Aubameyang, their best team will be with Partey, um, um, Willian, and Luis, but they were not available. So I was thinking that this team can beat them, but unfortunately we didn't get that, and then we ended up losing. So the formation that so back to the question, the lineup gave me a little bit of confidence. It was good to see that Chilwell and James back, but I was always worried because Werner was out on the wings instead of playing centrally.
I think this does give me a good transition into this, and I put out a tweet saying, I think, no, was it a tweet, or we were having a conversation on Discord, and I said Kepa actually has more chance of playing as a striker role at Chelsea than Werner at this point. Um, and Alex, do when is Frank Lampard gonna get around the fact that Werner should be playing striker, and maybe at this point look at a change in formation?
Um, Firstly, I'll say on the formation point, I don't really see Frank Lampard moving or changing his ways to suit Werner a bit more. I do think, I mean, for the betterment of the team, we should stick with the 4-3-3. But I think this is probably the first time that we've seen Lampard bench, or to fair, do any subs at halftime. But to take Werner off at halftime, I was pretty surprised. I thought he would, just based on the fact that he's kind of stuck it out with Werner, just kind of leaving him out there and hope that he can break the drought. But I guess we just have to see at the Aston Villa game if he does keep Werner there. I'll be so shocked if he does. He's got to be benched, I
But
think.
wait, like
Yeah,
I have a question. So
go for it.
why would you buy or why would you pay the money for a Timo Werner who was supposed to score goals for your team? Bring him in and then not play him in his best position. Like, I don't know if that's a valid question, but like that doesn't make any sense to me because
Aubameyang.
I'm assuming that was his man, right?
Uh, Unclear, but
Aubameyang.
probably yes. I think it's quite well documented that I think there's some articles somewhere on the Athletic that Werner was quite attracted by Lampard. So I do think Lampard definitely played a part in it.
Yeah. So like
But can I
you
can I, can I,
you
can I answer
signed
that question?
this goal scoring machine. Yeah, go
Go
for
for
it.
it.
Yeah, like it's true that definitely we signed Werner as a main striker, and we're not using him as a striker. But you also have to remember that we've not had all our players fit, especially the wingers that need to be playing whilst he's playing as a striker. And you can, I don't know whether you follow Chelsea games, but anytime he plays in the middle, he does very, very well. He produces good results, especially when Ziyech came back. He was doing very, very well down the middle. But the thing is, Ziyech isn't around. Havertz can play on the wings. Clearly, he has been put there and he can't do that. So I think the next best thing is Timo, because Timo also as a left winger. Like he plays in attack. His preferred role is in attack, but he's also a left winger. So if your left winger isn't around or your winger isn't around, he's kind of like the next best thing. But he's just having a poor run of form. So I don't really think that we bought him in as a striker and we're not using him as a striker. There are reasons why we're not using him as a striker. If all those things are there, if Pulisic is fit, Ziyech is fit, definitely Werner is playing as a striker.
Okay, and I get that, but Pulisic started, didn't he? And Callum Hudson-Odoi, I'm assuming is fit. One of those two could have played down the left, with the other playing down the right, and him playing through the middle, right? Like, if that's where my confusion comes from, because like you know how they Man United fans were always talking about you need to buy the perfect guy to unlock Pogba in the midfield. Like that's what's happening with Werner right now. It's like you need you need a perfect storm to get the best out of him. But if
I
he's
think
the guy that you thought would change your team, shouldn't he be able to do that
yeah, sorry,
without everything being perfect?
I don't want to cut you off, or I don't want to stretch this too much. But the thing is, Havertz is the one supposed to be the person that will kind of like unlock Werner, because when Havertz is in good form, Werner is also in good form. But for some reason, Havertz also isn't in the best of form. So even if you put Werner in the middle, probably he might not be as effective as he was when Havertz was also playing as a number eight. So the thing is, there are issues in the team. We have injuries, we have players out of form, and we have players that still are still like coming to terms with how difficult the Premier League is. We are still regaining a little bit of form, still kind of like making themselves how to say it, conversant with how the league is. So I think it's the thing is that we never. I don't think any of us on the podcast expected us to just hit the ground running. I think we all knew moments like this would come. So I think this is something that it needs to be addressed though. But I don't think it's for me at least. I don't think it's a major worry.
I mean, I,
Just
I want to know what the rest of you guys think about Werner, because
yeah,
like it's a very baffling thing to me.
I'll just add that the like for today, like we didn't go with Werner up top because we can't really drop Tammy. Tammy got 2 goals against West Ham, so you're not going to drop him. And yeah, so it, but you don't want to. We can't really play anyone else at left wing other than Hudson-Odoi. But that's a very good point that Hudson-Odoi, he definitely made a case for himself in the 45 minutes that when he came on, he did that give something extra. So for the Villa game and for the near future at least, I'd like to see Werner dropped and Hudson-Odoi starting a left wing. But the problem with Hudson-Odoi though as well is that he has these amazing cameos and comes off the bench and does really well. But sometimes if he's like when he starts, it's not quite the. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it just seems like he has a lot of really good sub appearances, but then when he starts, he's not quite the same magic for some reason.
I think I'll join into this, and sorry for the interruption. I'll join into this, and I'll add. I said this last time as well, and I think I said let's go with a 4-4-2, and I think Alex said, Lampard's not going to shift away from a 4-3-3. It's a formation that he likes. It's something that he's settled with, and up till making my prediction, which we do on our social media, I was going to go with a 4-4-2, but then Frank Lampard went on and said we have injured wing backs. Sorry, not wing backs, full backs, and ZX injured, and I was like, yeah, I don't think with 3 or 4 of our first team players injured, we're going to try and go for a new system. Um, but tonight, after seeing both of those guys start, it was kind of weird still seeing the same formation. I did want to say a four. I would have liked to have seen a 4-4-2. Maybe at the start just to see how it rolls off. If it didn't go well, we could have switched around. We could have done some changes. I think it's about time we start giving Werner the chance he deserves at a striker role. And I think, yeah, again, Amar mentioned Havertz. He was brought in solely because if Havertz has the creativity, Werner has the power to convert them into goals. Let's combine them together. We're talking about a combination of almost 20 to 30 goals a season from Werner. But yeah, he's been lacking, and there's no hiding behind that. I'll be honest. Like I think I can't just sit here and defend Werner, but I've been saying it for a while now. Either he goes off the team and then sits on the bench, or we try something else, because clearly him playing on the left is not working. And seeing him and Pulisic swap every now and then just gets me even more concerning, because then that just means Pulisic is dragged out of the game and he's out of position. So yeah, it's weird.
So okay,
There-
so if you're advocating for a 4-4-2, what formation are you looking at? I mean, the players. What, like, who's playing where?
I think I said this as well before, but I would have gone with Mount and either Kai Havertz or Kovacic playing out wide, even though that is a risk. But when you're playing a 4-4-2, you still have those like right mid and a left mid. But if we have them compress inwards, and we have, let's say, if we have Jorginho and Kante in the center, we get them to drop back a bit, and Mount and Kai Havertz to come in a bit more central. Then we technically play a 4-2-2-2, but essentially on paper it would be 4-4-4-4-2, with Werner and Mount who can support on the outsides as well. I know that is risky, and a lot of Chelsea fans don't like that, because when Mount was playing on the wings, for a few weeks, his performances dropped, and he was getting a lot of hate for it. The same way Werner's getting a lot of hate for it right now. So yeah, I think right now the only solution I see for Aston Villa is bench Werner or play him as a striker. I think
So
that's the hit.
in a formation like that, you're basically getting all your width from your fullbacks.
Yes, because right now, let's be honest, we don't have a lot of options. At most, we can play Pulisic on the outside, but then again, when Pulisic is going to be playing, he's going to be playing towards the outside, and again, we're going to be left with, when we're attacking with a 4-3-3, essentially putting Werner back on the left or the right hand side. So yeah, I would. There needs to be a change. I mean, we can't lose against Aston Villa now.
Well, okay, so to kind of sort of bring this back to Arsenal a little bit, like today, Arteta played inside forwards, which allowed us to get our width strictly from our fullbacks. Like Bellerin and Tierney were the primary, like the primary crossers. They were the people providing all the width, and Saka and Martinelli's jobs were to cut in and pack the box, right? I think that's a good idea, and if that's ultimately, I think that is what Lampard is going for, because isn't Werner's right-footed playing on the left, and Hakim Ziyech is left-footed playing on the right, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then he's got two of the most attacking fullbacks in the league. So I'm assuming that he's trying to replicate that to some degree. Um, but
Are
if
you
that's
saying we're copying Arteta?
no, please don't, please don't. No, you guys don't want to be 15th in December. But no, like I think my curiosity there comes from the fact that, like, it would make sense to me, like on a day like today, if he did want to play Pulisic, um and he wanted to play Werner and Hudson-Odoi was healthy, why didn't he just play those three across the front and then play the same fullbacks that he was playing?
Because you can't drop Tam. Because I don't think he would have been able to drop Tammy after
Yeah.
playing well against West Ham. And to
Okay.
be fair, Tammy got a goal today as well. So it's like, yes, maybe for like what you're saying, like for the benefit of the whole attack, it might be better to. I mean, we all want to see Werner at centre forward now, I think, and
Yeah.
maybe once, yeah, with Hudson-Odoi playing well, but it's just it's so hard to bench Tammy after even when we play rubbish, he still manages to score. It was a pretty impressive finish, dude, with his chest.
Yes.
So yeah, so it is hard, but yeah, that's the dilemma we face when our 50 million striker is is not playing well, but he's being played not in the position where he well can't say it's not his position, because for Leipzig he played striker but with another striker, and he was kind of on the left, but
Yeah.
he's just not a classic winger.
I think I'll put a question up here for you, Zogba, and I'll say, Arteta's really struggled with his tactics the past few games, and from an Arsenal perspective, what did you find that was different in this game? And of course,
So
being
yeah,
the
I think
best team at losing.
I think Arteta just kept it very, very simple today, and I think he needs to do that a lot more. Like I said, he played a 4-2-3-1, which is like logically, I don't know why he hasn't played that more often. Because if I think of our best team, it includes people like Partey, Aubameyang, Lacazette. Um, I was going to say Mesut Ozil, but I guess he can't get in the team now. But basically, like, to put the best players in their best positions, he either has to play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, and he seems he seems to stubbornly stick to this ridiculous 3-3-4-3, and it's really not working. I also think that, like, again, it's just a matter of, like, the counter, because Lacazette looked very, very good today. Playing in that withdrawn centre forward role, like he would come deep and then he would lay the ball off to either Martinelli or Saka, who would cut in. And I think that like that's simple football, and I think we need to do that more often against all teams. But then not all teams are also going to be gung ho and like all out attacking the way Frank Lampard is, because his Derby team were very similar, right? Like they were a very attack based team who are on the front foot all the time, and I think Arteta struggles when he has to go against teams that sit back and wait for him to create, because we obviously don't have anybody in our midfield who can create. And also the players seem to be really up for the derby. Players like Xhaka played really well, surprisingly. Um, but yeah, I think our best player today was Saka. He's
I think
really good.
that's a yeah. I was gonna throw in a question of which team wanted it more, and Amart, um, Arsenal looked like the team they wanted it more, but is this because Chelsea came into this game thinking, oh, it's Arsenal who've just lost their last 8 games, 9 games, they're struggling, they're 15th in the table, 3 points of relegation, this is going to be a stroll and a walk in the park? Is that why we kind of just gave the game away and the 3 points?
No, I think yeah, I think that definitely Arsenal wanted it more because if they had lost, they would have been 3 points above the relegation zone, which is a no go area for them. But I don't think Lampard set his team up underestimating Arsenal. I don't think so because Arsenal they weren't really in the best of forms, but they still beat us in the FA Cup final. So I don't think you can take any chances when it comes to Arsenal. But yeah, definitely they needed it more. They You could see on the pitch that they were fighting more for it. They were, but to be honest, I think I said this in the Discord server. To be honest, like like they didn't really play amazing football. They did their job and they did it well. They didn't really play amazing football. So I think I saw some Arsenal like what Zoba is saying. I saw some Arsenal fans saying tweeting out that this doesn't mean Ateta has become suddenly the best coach ever, but he did the job and he did it well. Like what he did against Manchester United, he went out there and he got the win and he got his 3 points. So they needed him more, and his job was also on the line because to be honest, I don't really think he would have still been on if there were 3 points above relegation. Probably he might have been sacked or probably getting close to getting sacked or something. But yeah, but on the question of whether they needed him, they wanted him more, definitely. But we didn't underestimate them. I just think that the intensity lacked a bit in the beginning. We were like what we do. We pass the ball amongst us more, and we allow them to have most of the possession, and they were on the back foot most of the times. But I think in the latter, I was more annoyed because in the latter part of the game, we showed a lot of intensity, and if that penalty had gone in, I don't know what would have happened. We would have gone more, like we'd have been attacking more and pressing them more. It probably could have gone a draw, but that intensity that we showed at the end of the game, it should have been at the beginning. We should have been aggressive at the beginning, as if we were the ones who were in the relegation zone, as if we were the ones who needed the points. Because if we had won, we were going second, and it was very annoying to see how relaxed the players were in the beginning, and then all of a sudden at the end we're trying to do a comeback. To be honest, I was watching with my little sister, and she was saying that even if they added like 45 minutes to that second half, we still wouldn't have scored a goal. And she was right because we were so desperate, and it wasn't good to see.
I think this game has brought out a lot of um, Chelsea Twitter accounts, as it does every loss. But I think this is where a lot of the fans are getting eager, and you hear a lot of noise of Lampard out, change in management, change in this, change in that. And before we get into discussing this, I'm going to make it very clear. I don't think that we're trying to say we want Lampard to leave Chelsea. This is just a general discussion. Um, And Alex, do are any of the Chelsea fans should even be considering or saying Lampard out right now? I know I'm putting you on the spot again.
Yeah, TikTok. Matthew, here's where you can get your TikTok. No, but well, let's be real. They were Lampard out fans before this game. There's just so many fans nowadays that there's an opinion that there's every form of opinion out there. So getting worked up over some people having being Lampard out isn't worth the energy, I don't think. But there's going to be a lot more Lampard out fans after this, and yeah, they're justified as long as they're not abusing him or abusing the players. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of it stems from before Lampard times of Chelsea just being this ruthless club where we would discard managers left, right, and centre, and a lot of that is kind of it's still there in the club, well, at least in the fans. I don't know about the club, but yeah, I definitely do think Lampard's definitely lost. He's not lost many fans probably with this game, but he's probably lost a few. And yeah, it's going to be a big one against Villa and a big one against City because Villa is definitely not an easy game. So yeah, I just kind of I'm trying not to imagine if we actually do lose against Villa how much Lampard out is. It
But
was all
it's
over
you guys
TikTok.
could have gone second today.
True, but like the table, the way I say it, the table is just such a. It's not a lie, but it's just very weird. Like 10 point. Yeah, sorry,
No,
go on.
no, no. I was gonna say it's been like a strange season overall, right? Like nobody seems to be able to get their act together for a consistent period of time. Like teams are really good for a while and then they just are average for a while. Like the only team that's been consistently good is Liverpool, and
Yeah.
maybe Spurs, which
Arsenal.
literally breaks my heart to say. But Arsenal,
They've
Arsenal
been
have been
good. Yeah,
consistently bad.
yeah. They've been consistent in losing games. But yeah. Uh,
That's true. I'm glad you guys helped us break our consistency streak.
Hey,
Very
as
grateful
Amart
for that.
mentioned, I think at the start, Charity FC. Um, I think
Yeah, well,
looking
we'll take it where we can get it.
looking back at December, I'm looking at Chelsea only winning one game. Yeah, one game. We've gotten 3 points this whole December. Looking from the outside, Zogba, you would probably have an unbiased opinion on this, and you would be looking at it from a different perspective to all three of us because we would have a sense of passion in on our answers. Do you think it's time for Lampard out, or is this Chelsea fans being reactionary and what Lampard's done at Chelsea should still continue?
Well, I think like Frank Lampard has like he has the poison chalice at this point because last season was basically a you know you guys had a transfer ban.
Transition season.
They like yeah, and the thing is that it couldn't have gone wrong for him last season because whatever he did would have been good. After signing all the players that you guys signed, there was an expectation of a market improvement this season based on the signings that you made. Um, and it doesn't appear to me that there has been a significant enough improvement. Like if City or Liverpool were playing at the level that they were playing at last season without their injuries, I don't think that you like your team would be anywhere near top two. Um, and of the top four teams from last season, I think your team probably made the greatest improvement signing wise. So the fact that that's not reflecting in your play has to come down to the manager. I don't think the manager is a bad manager. I think the job is a little too big for him.
Yeah. I think Amart, are Chelsea fans being a bit too reactionary? I know we've spent 200 million, and I think as a rival fan, that's the one defense they have every time Chelsea lose. The one tweet you'll see from every rival fan is, "Imagine spending 200 million and getting a result like this." And I know I was probably the most ambitious out of us three in our predictions at the start of the season, saying Chelsea could go on and win the Premier League this season. Is that still happening, Amart, or is that just over? We just want to get top four and probably the FA Cup.
Definitely reactionary, like what the fans are saying that Lampard out and all that. I think it's way reactionary. But the thing is, there's some form of, like Zoba said, there's some form of expectation, especially when you go out and buy so many players like this. There's some form of expectation from rival fans and other fans. Like they want you to compete. They want you to show that you can, you have improved. You have improved a lot. Like compared to last season. But the thing is, these time, like the time that we signed these players, we signed them in a COVID period. We didn't have any preseason, so we just signed them. We signed a lot of players. We signed about six. I think we signed about seven, but we are using six, and we threw them in the deep end, and we expect them to perform and to gel. So they are actually learning on the job. They didn't have any preseason. They didn't have any time to gel with the players before they start playing. They just came in and then they started playing. But yeah, you can also say that they've had enough time to gel. But for me, I still think, and Lampard says it all the time in press conferences, that we aren't there yet. And I think a lot of fans think that the fact that we've signed a lot of players, it means that we'll win. Manchester United have been signing players from when, I think, from Moyes' time and coming down. They've been signing a lot of players. They signed Sanchez. They signed many players. They still couldn't win. They were changing coaches and changing managers. They still couldn't win. I remember when Pep came to Man City the first time. He even signed a lot of players more than us. He the amount of money he spent in the market was even more than 200 million, but he didn't win anything in his first season. So I think all these things, they take time. They take time for players to gel well with each other. It takes time for the manager to figure out. We are sitting on the bench. So we are sitting in the comfort of our homes. We can easily point out mistakes. We can easily point out and say, this is what needs to be done. This is what needs to be done. Forgetting that Lampard also has his own philosophy. That's why I keep saying that. He said it in the past. Immediately after he retired, he had an interview. One day I'll purposely look for it and share it on the server. But he had an interview where he was asked what the problem was for England, like that golden age English side. Why didn't they win anything? And he was very critical of the 4-4-2 formation that they were using at that time. And he made it very clear that he really isn't a big fan of the 4-4-2 formation. So I don't really see him changing because of um, just how to say it, because fans want him to change, or because we feel that that's the formation he can get the best out of the players with. But I just feel like it's not his philosophy, it's not his style. So it has to take some kind of convincing from Jody Morris and the players around him, or the team around him, before he will see him playing a 4-4-2. So one, we need time. We need to have time. We need to have patience for this manager, because we've all seen signs. The thing is that it's not like we are bad. We've seen signs of good performances. We've seen signs of when things go right, they go really right for us. We play excellently on the pitch. And sometimes when it goes wrong, there's some mistakes, there's some decisions that probably he took today that let him down. But I don't think it's time to call out for his head or want him to be sacked or something like that. I think we just need time. We just need patience to see how the season goes.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree on you with that one. I think Chelsea fans are being too reactionary. Even some, I would say, to a point, I was reactionary, and I think Alex can back up on this one. When I took the break, I think it was during October, and we were having a chat off the podcast. I said Lampard out quite a few times, and I think both of you mentioned the fact that it's too early. It's. But I've kind of just grown to understand that, again, as many Chelsea fans, I'm used to just seeing change of management every year, every 2 years, and now that we've got Frank Lampard, who could potentially still be Chelsea's manager 5 years down the line, to stick with a manager and stick with his tactics and his way and style of playing. So I think I'll agree and I'll say Lampard still needs this season to develop, and maybe next season, yes, if we don't challenge for the Premier League, I'll be a bit concerned, and that's when we can talk about that's when I would say is the right time to talk about Frank Lampard out. But for now, I think I'll still back the manager and always the club. I think there is nothing wrong with that. Um,
I mean, I can respect that in principle, but so Amart made the comparison with Guardiola in his first season at Man City, but I think that like, and I've heard those comparisons made, but it's odd to me because like Guardiola didn't stroll into Man City without any like he had like a he had a good reputation, like he had done things in his career, right? Like Guardiola literally won the Champions League twice and the league several times with Barcelona. And that's why like he's given that freedom or that leeway. Um Lampard went to Derby, who finished sixth the season before he got there, and finished sixth with them the season after he got there. And then he came to Chelsea, who finished fourth or third, I believe, under Mauricio. No, not what's Sarri, right? And he finished in the same position the season after. So like he there hasn't been like a significant or market improvement in his managerial career anywhere he's gone, right? And like this would have been the season because now he has the players he wants. He can play the formation he wants. All of this stuff is available to him now. And yes, I'll give you that he didn't have much of a preseason, but nobody did. So like he's swimming in the same pool as all these other managers. And with the amount of money he spent and with his current like CV, I would expect to have seen more from this Chelsea team. Right? Like challenging for the Premier League is not absurd. They have at
but again,
least three or
you've got
four
to
of the best
realize something,
attackers.
and I think um, I would jump in and just say we didn't have a pre-season. The players used the Premier League games in a way to just gel together. And if you look at the first few games Chelsea played, it was almost like everything was out of place. I mean, tonight also looked like that, but I think we've come a long way from there, and I think if we did have a preseason, a few games, it would have been so much more better. Chelsea would have probably had a better start to the season. Mendy, if he was started the first league game, we would have probably conceded less goals, even though tonight we conceded 3. Um, I think, I think a lot of rival fans need to understand that this is a new team. Most of our players have just been signed in, um, and we're still trying to just get used to everything. And we haven't even had a fully fit squad. I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen Werner, Ziyech, and Pulisic start in one of the games. Have I? I could be wrong here, but
I think they have played
they
together
haven't
as
Yeah,
started.
a front three
yeah. I think I
against, but they
think I
haven't
think
Yeah,
they
started.
played. I think they
No,
played together,
yeah. I
and
think
but
we're still
I
waiting
think they
for.
played together in the Manchester United game, the second half when Ziyech came on. I think that was it, or something like that.
sorry, I was just gonna say I think there's a limit to the amount you can play the injuries horn, because if you look at Liverpool, their depth is probably worse. If you look at their bench compared to our bench, would it be reasonable to say that our bench is better?
Yeah, it is.
Your bench is significantly better than Liverpool's
Exactly. Yeah.
bench.
Like the fact that Liverpool have built up their lead with whilst having an injury crisis essentially over the past couple of months. It is a bit frustrating. And on the whole, wing like I think you're on about the whole Guardiola Lampard or comparing them. But I mean, when Guardiola, in fairness to Lampard, when Guardiola came in, yeah, in terms of building an attacking system, he still had he had
Yeah.
Aguero, he
No,
had
no.
I think Sane
He
when he
he
came in
came with
already,
Sane.
and De Bruyne. He still had, yeah. There's probably a couple of others as well, but yeah. So, but I think the point is that he didn't have to completely revolutionize the way that Man City attacked. They were already a pretty high scoring team, whereas yeah, I think with us, yeah, maybe it's a little bit clutching at straws, but we have two new wingers. Well, yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah, a new attacking mid, a new striker, a new winger, all of which will be starting. It's yeah, but at the same time, I mean, and to be fair,
yeah,
that showed in some. We're still one of the top scorers in the league, but it just shows that against the top teams, we're a bit lacking because we haven't really scored that. I mean, we've scored against Arsenal. We didn't score against Tottenham. We didn't score against United. We haven't really, other than the West Ham game, we haven't beaten anyone in the top 10. So
Okay,
I
well,
suppose
this would be my question. Okay, so let's say it wasn't Frank Lampard. Let's say it was, I don't know, Sam Allardyce in your in your dugout, and he had spent the amount of money that Frank had spent, and he was getting the results Frank was getting. Would you be calling for patience still?
uh, probably it depends. If Sam Allardyce had done what Frank Lampard did last season, as in sell Hazard, transfer ban, play all the youth, and get top four, then I probably would give him patience. But if it was just the season and it was Sam Allardyce spending all that money, then I'd expect us to be the best team in the world at
yeah,
corners. So we're already the top scorers of corners, but instead of 8, I'm expecting like
yeah.
20 goals
But
already this season, just from like Kurt Zuma is our absolute top scorer in all competitions because Sam Allardyce. But yeah, go on,
yeah,
Amart.
look, I just want to reply to what he said and what Zoba said at first. Like, I wasn't really
Amart.
yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can, yeah, yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
like
Yeah, yeah,
what I wanted to do is I was
yes.
replying to Zoba what Zoba said at first, and I wasn't really comparing Pep to Lampard. I wasn't comparing them. I was just comparing the season that they spent the most, because he made a comment about us spending a lot and then we are not showing anything on the pitch. And even Pep Guardiola is more experienced, he's more accomplished, but even him, he couldn't even work with a lot of players, a lot of new players in his squad in his first season. He still needed time to do that. That's the comparison I wanted to make. Lampard isn't really that advanced like him, so even with Lampard, he might need even more time. So we need to spend more. We need to have more patience with Lampard than with Pep, because with Pep, I don't think that we would have had like there was a need for any patience with him, because I remember in his first season, even Man City fans were calling for him to be sacked. They were calling him a fraud and all that. But in the second season, he turned it around and he did better. So I wasn't comparing them individually. I was just comparing their expenditure to what they actually achieved in their first season. And with the Liverpool issue also as well, I think Liverpool has been playing for a very long time under Klopp. I think they know what they need to do under Klopp, and I think Klopp has actually instilled a system of play in them that no matter who comes in, no matter who fits, who comes in for who, they know what to do. So with them also having injuries and still performing at a higher level, I think it just because they have a solid system that everybody comes in and actually falls in line with. Nobody goes out of it. The system is there. This is what you have to do. When you come, you do exactly that, and then you are done. So I think with them it's different, because Klopp has been there. This is the patience I'm talking about. Klopp has been there for a long time, so they are well-oiled dream, the all team. So they know what to do when people are out, so they can cope with injuries way better than us.
I think I'll join into this one, and I'll say, and kind of going back to Zogba's question of would I give any other manager the chance that Lampard's gotten, or the patience that we've got for Lampard? I would mention here that Lampard is coming into Chelsea with only 1 year of managerial experience. If you
hmm
bring in Jose Mourinho, if you bring in Pep Guardiola, who've coached the top teams of the world, who've taken, who've won everything you can think of in club football,
Hmm.
I would have probably not been that patient, because I would say they've got the experience of managing multiple teams, so they know what they're doing when they come into the club. Let alone even come into the club, when they're about to sign the contract, they know what to look forward to. With Lampard,
Hmm.
you've got to be patient, because I think there's a sense of understanding in the way that he understands Chelsea. He's played for Chelsea. He's one of the best Chelsea players there are, and then that he hasn't got much managerial experience, so he's kind of learning on the
Yeah.
job, if you would like to say it that way. And
Hmm.
yeah, I would say I wouldn't give anyone else um,
Exactly
as
the
much of a
same.
chance as Lampard.
No, and like so. Yeah, very very quickly. I just want to touch on a couple of things. And I understand like giving him time and giving him the space, but like the reason I was saying that the comparison with the Guardiola is that Guardiola actually came with like a resume. So when coaches come with that kind of resume, I would think that you do you can say for sure this guy knows what he's doing, and you might to me anyway, then you should be more patient with a coach who knows what he's doing, as opposed to somebody who hasn't significantly improved any of the teams that he's gone to. I mean, if you want to give him more space or more time, simply because he has a history with the club, which is what is happening at United as well, and apparently what's happening at Arsenal, then that's fine. But like yeah, like for the big jobs and like for the big jobs, usually they don't bring in managers that learn on the job. Um, but if you're okay with that
Yeah,
happening
but I mean, but
with
I think
Lampard,
that
then
that is
that's
how
fine.
football is evolving now. Like most of them are bringing old players to actually come and learn or have their first chances. Look at Juventus with Pirlo. Look at Arsenal with Arteta, and then Chelsea with Lampard. I think it's a trend that it's starting, and it's normal. I think now it's normal. Like the teams will prefer successes come from their former players who have now become managers than probably somebody else that they'll bring in and then who didn't perform and then they'll sack later. I think they'll have the teams, their boards themselves have more patience for somebody who has or a legend of a club than an outsider.
Yeah, and that's fair. And like I think that started obviously
Yeah,
with Guardiola, what he did at Barcelona, and then after that, everybody was like, okay, well, this is the formula to build around,
yeah.
right? And like all the big teams are doing that now. But yeah, if you look at the history of how often that works as opposed to how often it doesn't, it works a lot less often than it does, right? Because like Scholes isn't doing that great at United. Um, Pirlo is well, he's not doing that great in Italy, and Juventus are almost always win the
Yeah, but
Scudetto. Arteta
sorry to
isn't doing great at Arsenal. Um,
sorry to
I
cut you there,
guess
but
you
I
could
think
say Lampard is doing
it's a
okay at
chance they are
Chelsea.
willing to take. I think the thing is that it's a chance that they are willing to take, whether whether the succeeded in the past or not. Like
Well,
they
that's
prefer
fair.
to take that chance
That's
because
fair.
I think even with Zidane's first main job was with Real Madrid, and he won three Champions League titles in a row. So I think every team is also looking for something like that, a story like that from like one of our own winning for us. I hope you get my point. Yeah.
No, no, no. Like you make a good point, and Zidane is actually a really good example. Um, like Zidane's league record obviously isn't the greatest, but I think he won the league recently. So that yeah, like I can see that being it's like the great fairy tale where it's like the legend comes back and wins things with the club, and then like he has this club DNA, but I don't know, like to me anyway, it seems not to work as much as people think it does, and also there seems to be like like a fairly good precedent for that or precedent for that when the person is promoted from the youth ranks. So he's already been coaching at the club and he knows how the club works. So when you promote him to the first team, it's not like a sudden new thing. He already has people he can bring in. If you just bring in a complete, like an outsider who hasn't been with the club, it doesn't seem to work as well. But that might also just be my own commentary bias.
I think that sums up quite a lot of the review for the Arsenal game. I think if we continue, we could talk for days on this topic.
Yeah.
Alex, you had a few questions in mind.
Yeah, so I did get one question. So just before, but I'm not sure if Zog was going to like it. So firstly, I'll apologize for this question that my Inter Milan friend Dario he sent one in asking. So this is Inter Milan fan, and feel free. We can all respond, including Zog. How did Chelsea let themselves lose to one of the worst teams in the Premiership?
Yeah.
Charity FC. I think Charity FC just
Yeah, thanks, Dario. Right, Zogba, do you wanna take the lead, or we'll get?
No, yeah, I'm okay with going for that. Well, I can answer that twofold. I can answer it tactically, or I can answer it just for the fun of it, or for bands. But I think I'm gonna go
Here
with
we go.
bands. I think I think what happened is that, like, you just reverted to the norm. So you didn't lose. It's not that you lost to one of the worst teams in the league. It's just that you found your level, and we were all in the mud together today.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. I think we've. Yeah.
Hey, everyone has
to
a
be fair,
chance to laugh. Hopefully, 3
yeah.
months down the line, we'll be the one laughing when we get top 4. We get Champions League football. Hopefully,
I don't know. I don't know. After Arsene Wenger said top four was a trophy and people bantered and laughed at him, it seems to have become a lot more important to people.
I
So
think it was always important, but the fact that the last couple of years, the Premier League winners have been decided by such a large margin that that competition for top 4 has just become more of a trophy challenge in a way. And I think if you look at Chelsea's timeline, that was kind of the aim. And say last year was, if we got top 4, this year we close the gap, next year we win. So it did seem like we were on the right track. We've got a few hiccups along the way, but we're still not far off top of the table. 6 points. Depending on whether they win tomorrow or not, that's a different story. But yeah, I think overall I think we're it's difficult to even decide.
but no, like I think the loss today wasn't unexpected.
I agree that the whole it's definitely. I think a lot of Chelsea fans were confident, overconfident, probably, and yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you after looking at the two teams' form? But I think the last Chelsea game against West Ham kind of did a bit of paper over the cracks. We all thought that we were out of this little rut of two away losses, but against West Ham we weren't actually that good, even though like we had a couple of goals at the end, just that were okay, but it wasn't that great of a performance. So yeah, we did get a bit.
But to be honest, yeah, I think like watching the game, there were a couple of things. Well, like there were a couple of reasons I think you lost the game. I don't think we won the game. I think that you guys lost the game. First of all, I mean, are
No,
we all
no, it
agreed that
wasn't.
that was actually a penalty?
It wasn't. He was. If you look at the replay, he was on his way down
I,
before James clipped him. So for me, I think even Ian Wright said that it wasn't a penalty. So I don't really see how that was a penalty. He was on his way down. There was hardly a touch, and he went down. But on in the run of play, it looked like he touched it. But in the replay, you could clearly see that he wasn't really clipped. He was on his way down before he was touched. So that wasn't a penalty. definitely not a penalty. At least for my part.
I think it was, but I mean that's my biased opinion, obviously.
Uh,
Um, Hold up, Mohammed is asking if he wants us to refresh the recording.
yeah, I'm on the fence. Like he kind of they come together and then Reese kind of knees him in the leg as he's going down. It's really tough, and I couldn't even on the second, third replay. I couldn't pinpoint exactly where the penalty was coming from, but it is what it is. I'm not mad about that. I'm mad.
Yeah,
I don't blame it. Put any
on the
blame on the
player.
refs'
Yeah,
performances. I put blame on mainly a lack of intensity and lack of the players like just not caring until we were pretty much 3-0 down, and yeah, that was the main. That's the thing I'm annoyed about. And
Well, I also think that like the way you guys set up tactically was like it, I don't know because like the last like I keep saying the thing Arteta really likes is when he doesn't have to attack, right? Like when he can just sit back and absorb the pressure and then counter on teams. And you played right into his hands. Like I think if you guys had played a more methodical game where you were okay with us having the ball because you've got better goal scorers than we do. I would have played personally. I would have played Giroud over Tammy Abraham because there was going to be no space in behind for him to run into. Because we were definitely going to play a deep block and try to get you on the counter. And for that, it makes more sense to play Giroud, who the ball sticks with when it gets up top. So I think like the little tactical nuances like that were missed by Lampard are the reason why you lost the game today. And if he had played a slightly different formation, like I said, if he had played like Giroud and then Werner and um um Pulisic, or even better still, if he had played Giroud and um Werner up top and then played like Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi on the wings, you'd have probably won the game. To be fair, um, but yeah, I think Arteta basically like he played on the fact that you are going to dominate the ball, come at us, and then he was just going to counter. Like all our goals came from counters or silly fouls in the area, in and around the area. So yeah, that's my opinion.
yeah, I do agree. And I think there was a similar pattern in the previous games that we've played against Arsenal, where it's been Lampard against Arteta, and it's a little frustrating that Lampard hasn't learned the lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should
Maybe the fourth one.
Arsenal and Chelsea analysis. I feel like we won't even.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to say for the Aston Villa game at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm open to talking about that because I watched the Villa game today, and that was Villa are really good, surprisingly. And
Oh, so
I've got like I
you've bantered us through Arsenal. Now you're going to support Villa and banter us to Villa.
no. Like I'm not even trying to make a case for Villa here, but like Villa have one Ross Barkley is supposed to come back for the next game, and he definitely
yeah,
has a
he
chip
can't.
on his
Yeah, he
shoulder,
can't play.
or
He can't
I'm
play
assuming
against
he
us.
can't play, right?
I don't think he
It-
can
He
play. I
can't.
think we'll
He's
probably
on
yeah.
loan, so he can't play against us.
nah.
So one, but like Watkins and Grealish have a really good understanding. And if Villa are very similar to Arsenal, like we're a bottom of the table team, they're gonna sit back with like a low block and counter attack. And if Lampard does his whole gung ho at all out attack thing again, it's possible they could catch you on the counter.
Oh, this is going to be a tough one. I prefer not to speak. I prefer not to speak. I don't want to get ahead of myself with this. Let's slow it down and say a draw is a good result at this point.
It's funny how the loss against us today has just like sapped your collective spirits. This is
It's unexpected, to be honest with you. I think if we expected it, no one would have been this like reactionary.
Oh,
But
To
the
be fair,
fact,
the game is at home. Sorry, Mohammed, go on.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
The game is at home, and our home for I don't know. It just seems like our away form is just absolute crap right now. So I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic though. So maybe I'll predict a draw in my preview, and then if we lose again, I can at least say that I was close enough to a win, or close enough to the outcome if we lose. But no, I think it'll be. I'm optimistic. Lampard is always in for a reaction. And that was by far one of the worst Chelsea performances we've had in recent years. So yeah, if there isn't a reaction there, like against Villa, then
I don't know.
oh,
I don't.
we in
I,
trouble. Especially after, especially
I
if
actually think.
City.
Sorry. I actually think we can get results from Villa. I know they are very good. They've had good performances. I think today they had an excellent performance, but I don't know. We are, and then to reiterate your points, I think we are home and we have like a better form, better results at home. So probably that might be on our side, but I'm not really down, or I'm not really worried about the Villa game. It definitely be a difficult game, but I think we can learn from the mistakes that we had today, and we can improve on it against Villa. So I'm not too confident, but I'm confident about that game. We can get a result from it.
I think I'll have to pause everyone there. I apologize for this, but um, we usually do our predicted lineups on the podcast, but I think we're gonna have to do them on our social media pages because of the fact that this podcast needs to go out tomorrow morning due to the lack of days and games. So apologies to everyone. Apologies to Zogba for cutting the episode short. Um,
that's okay.
if you want to see our predicted lineups, they will be on the actual social media pages that we've got links in the description. You can follow them. Sorry, Alex. Sorry, Amart. Um, because if we keep going longer, I think it would just we wouldn't be able to release it tomorrow. Um, but yeah, I think Aston Villa will be sure to do a review of Aston Villa. We'll try and do a separate episode for a review and a detailed one, depending on how our mood is, of course. Um, I've got to give a warning. I can't just pretend everything's fine. Um, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to follow all of our socials. Subscribe. Put a like rating to this. One like rating. 1 point for Chelsea. Let's do that. Hopefully we start.
This is what we need now. This is what it's come to.
Now 3 points.
Arsenal have full on rattled us, and
Let
oh,
me be the optimistic one.
yeah.
I can take the heat in the next podcast, but we are getting the 3 points.
Oh,
We are getting three
TikTok time.
points.
I think you guys are gonna beat Villa, if I'm being honest. It's just funny to hear how demoralized you are by losing to like it's I mean, that's how bad we are. We're so bad that a loss to us is actually like has destroyed morale amongst the fan base. That's fantastic. I never thought I would see this day.
Thank you guys for listening in. Thank you guys. Make sure to add it to your playlist, subscribe, leave a like rating, follow all of our socials. We'll try and see what we can do, but I'm sorry to cut it short. And we'll see you next time.